Welcome, everybody. 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 10:30 Eastern. We are good to go. Get rid of these banners. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, check X, and Instagram. All right. Welcome to the show. You digging that beat? We're going to talk about that a little bit later today because this is Friends Friday. But first, welcome to the Morning Show with Scott, the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. It's Friends Friday, as I said. So a little bit later in this show, we're going to have a guest up. But first, hey, I've been listening to a live stream of somebody else's on YouTube. I've listened to maybe 3 or 4 episodes, so I don't even know who the guy is yet, but it's the Economic Illiterate. It talks about U.S., particularly economic data every morning. He's pretty good at it. He's been around for a while, and it gives me my little morning bump of energy and economic news. And he says this morning, and he's in a different time zone than me, right? So I kind of wake up, I throw him on the headphones. He says, I wake up every morning to do my live stream and I have a shower, which I sometimes do as well if I'm not going to the gym later. Have my coffee, which I do 100% of the time. And I look at the news and I look for economic data, he says. And what do I find? Only politics. How many times have I told you on this live stream? There is no news. We're here in the middle of August in the summer. It is a political season and only politics. And what was the politics from yesterday? Price controls. Kamala came out on the housing issue and says when she's in, she's going to put price controls, because we've never tried price controls before. We haven't thought about, what would happen in the 1970s if we just put price controls on everything and inflation burst. It just bloomed up in waves because price controls raise prices, and they do that by limiting supply. If you own a house in California right now, you can't get insurance, period. Why? Because Governor Newsom, is that his name, Newsom or Newscomb? I always hear it differently. Is put price controls on insurance, and the insurance company said, well, we can't just operate in this market. We got wildfires all over the damn place and floods and different natural disasters, and we have all of these loss claims, yet we can't price accordingly. So we're out of here, and now you can't buy insurance, period, for your house, or it's some astronomical amount of money because price controls limit supply. The way the free markets work is your housing goes up too much. And if you're not killing free markets with regulation, which is what we're doing in both countries, but if you're not killing free markets with regulation, prices go up. And what happens? Well, someone like me or any of you sit around and think, I bet you I could make some money providing some housing to the people. And so you build some houses, you create more supply, then the prices come down. In other words, the cure to high prices is high prices in a free market. And what they're going to do with price controls is they're just going to limit the supply and explode the prices of the price of housing, and young people won't be able to get their first home. That's just the way it's going to be. We talked about that earlier this week. I think we talked about Generation Z and the inability to get a house. So if you're not ultra wealthy, if you are ultra wealthy, vote for Kamala. You're going to do great, because what we're doing, or what we're about under Biden and what we're about to do under Kamala, is suck the wealth out of people that work, that have a job, and we're going to give it to the rich people that have assets, because assets inflate. Your paycheck does not inflate. That's as simple as you can think about it. So if you're super rich, vote for Kamala. If you're not super rich, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. They're just going to continue to suck the wealth out of you and give it to the wealthy. This is the first time in my lifetime, and I got to tell you, I'm not young. This is the first time in my lifetime that the U.S. is actually left of Canada. We used to think to ourselves, hey, you got in the U.S. down there, they got the Republicans that are ultra conservative. We got the Democrats, which they call on the left, but the left in the U.S. is right of the conservatives in Canada. Not anymore. Not anymore. The Biden-Harris administration is equal to the NDP, to the Socialist Party in Canada, and it's just going to be terrible. So, Globe and Mail reports this morning, no, last night maybe, Victoria Gold Corp, Victoria Gold Corp, symbol VGCX on the Toronto Exchange. Their chief executive officer, John McConnell, says he regrets staying silent while the company was in crisis. What happened, you might ask? Well, Victoria Gold runs a gold mine, obviously, in the Yukon, way up there. And sorry, I'm just checking my my Instagram comments, which is always a distraction. So June 24th, on June 24th, 4 million tons of cyanide-laced rock. That doesn't sound good. Cyanide-laced rock collapsed at the outdoor heat bleaching facility, and half of that spilled into the local environment beyond the company's containment zone, which I think for you and me might beg the question, what the hell is an outdoor heat bleaching facility? That's a reasonable question. Well, in simple terms, they mine the ore out of the ground, which is a bunch of rock. They put it in a big pile, which is the heap, and then they sprinkle cyanide-laced water onto that pile. And what that does is it leaches off the gold from the ore. And all of that's contained in this containment pond that's lined and, shouldn't leak out into the environment. Sprinkle it with cyanide-laced water. Well, that heap collapsed, and now it's all in the environment, or half of it. And it says here the scale of the environmental damage is unknown, but the local First Nations people, that's who lives up there, fears the spill could devastate salmon fisheries, hunting grounds, groundwater. There are dozens of dead fish in a creek nearby, and the groundwater in the vicinity of the mine will have to be monitored for toxic cyanide, et cetera, et cetera. You think I'm going to talk about the environmental disaster, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a complete lack of leadership in crisis management on behalf of our CEO of this mine, Mr. McConnell. He said one of his biggest regrets was not speaking more after the crisis occurred. So this guy's strategy was to bury his head in the sand. Regrets. He has regrets, it says in the quote, after 7 weeks. The crisis was just 7 weeks ago. He lasted like 5-6 weeks on the job before he just lost the faith of everybody. And I talk on this show a lot. I'm reading the news to try to get lessons from current events as to how we might better manage our business, sometimes manage our lives, specifically geared to medium and small businesses. If you are a business in transition, you're trying to make more money, you're trying to raise business capital, you're trying to get from here to there, you need to lead, and you need to lead through this transitionary period. This is a company that is going through a severe crisis, which is a form of change, a form of transition. Well, the Yukon government castigated, I like that word, that sounds severe, castigated the company on several occasions for not divulging enough information to the public about the environmental damage. Victoria Gold sometimes went several weeks without issuing updates. Now, it's only been 7 weeks, so I don't know what the several weeks. We did maybe 1 or 2 press conferences. I read that between the lines. But McConnell said his lawyers advised him to stay silent. So the lawyer said, be quiet, don't say a word. And he now admits that was a mistake. Well, I do you believe that? I believe that 100%. What happens is the lawyers are looking around, they're advising the company, they're talking to the board of directors, and they're thinking class action lawsuits. They're thinking environmental criminal charges to the extent that they exist, but certainly charges, administrative or otherwise. And they're thinking everything that we say is going to come back to haunt us, maybe used against us, as they say. And so therefore, say nothing. That is the job of a lawyer. The job of a CEO and the board of directors is to think to themselves, maybe I should listen to that. Maybe I should not listen to that. So their advice was say nothing, say nothing, say nothing. And that's not my style, said Mr. McConnell. So I regret doing that, so on and so forth. So what happened? What happened is he said nothing, and he lost the the confidence of the stakeholders. And so yesterday or Thursday, Thursday, the decision was published, but this company was put into receivership. It was put into receivership by Justice Barbara Conway. That's probably commercialist in Toronto, I suspect. I don't know this judge. I haven't been there in a long time. Said that they've just lost control of this and they won't be able to fund the $150 million plus or minus cleanup costs. And so they appointed PricewaterhouseCoopers as a receiver, and PwC will now be in charge of trying to manage this process. And the government, i.e. taxpayers, that is you Canadians that are listening to this, are going to step in and have to fund this thing. As for Victoria Gold, the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization halted trading in the shares on Wednesday, and the company said that it will be delisted. Stockholders are toast. They were toast potentially anyway. So what should this CEO have done? This is a crisis, obviously, huge crisis. Need to persuade everyone, stakeholders in the community. You need to persuade them, right, in the community. You need to persuade the stakeholders that are regulatory in nature, the people whose job it is to look after this industry and make sure it's doing what we as citizens want it to do. You have to persuade the financial stakeholders. And to do that, you need to gain trust. I've talked to you on this show before about the ATM OG approach to persuasion and negotiation. Well, the T in that, after you get attention, which is the first rule of persuasion, if no one is listening to you, you can't sell anything, right? You can't persuade anybody of anything if you don't have any attention. Well, he got their attention. He's got cyanide flowing through the water. You have the attention. Now you need the trust. And the trust, one of the primary ways to get the trust, what this guy should have done, is you need to communicate with people on their wavelength. You need to meet the people where they are. That's called pace and lead and persuasion. I don't know if that's a term that is common. And so I'll give a shout out to Scott Adams, whose podcasts and books I listen to and read. So we're going to call it pace and lead because that's the only term I know. But it means you pace, means you get in sync with where your audience is first, and then you lead them. And it's about building trust. And so what he needed to say to stakeholders is that this is clearly a unquantifiable, we don't know how big the problem is, but it's a serious environmental and financial disaster. And he needed to be upfront, early, and often about that. What he could not do was disagree. It's no big deal. You see this all the time in business when they're talking to the lenders or whatever. It's no big deal. That's not pacing. Or you can't go hide. You can't just hide and disappear on the advice of your lawyers. You need to be out front early and often. You need to say things like, this is devastating. It's devastating for the community. It's devastating for those that are held responsible to enforce regulations on behalf of Canadians. It's devastating for the industry as a whole. It's devastating for our employees and our shareholders who are also victims of this terrible, terrible accident. And we know the seriousness and the fear, and that there's fear of the unknown. And we commit to be open, honest, and frequent in our communications and to work with everybody as effectively as we can. But, maybe that's not practical. That's what you should have done. And that's what we should learn from this experience. But, lawyers are advising the company, lawyers are advising the directors of the company, and all of them, I'm certain, are facing serious lawsuits. And as I said, obviously the lawyers just want you to shut up. Don't say anything that's going to make their job harder. Maybe they said, hey, here's what's going to happen. Your company is going to be bankrupted. It's going to go into receivership. You're going to be sued. You're going to be sued corporately. You're going to be sued personally. You're going to be potentially charged. I don't know if any of this is true, by the way. We're working on hypotheticals without having gone into any specific information on this particular company. But maybe all these bad things are going to happen to you. And maybe that is a better outcome. Maybe you just being toasted is a better outcome than you getting up there and saying things which is going to make your lot in life worse. That's very possible. Hey, Nick Favreau, how are you? Thanks for joining in. So because he failed, PwC has taken over the monitoring, and that's all fine. We've been through all that. So LinkedIn post yesterday by a Mark Raffin, who I don't know, but look him up, RAFFAM. He has a ton of followers. He's a negotiator, B2B sales guy, put a post out about negotiation yesterday, and it says, do you think you can out negotiate anyone with just logic and data? Do you guys think that? Do you think you can out negotiate somebody with logic and data? Ron says, Mark, in negotiation, success isn't just about what you know. It's about how well you understand and manage emotions, both yours and others. How well you understand and manage emotions, both yours and others. He wants you to negotiate with emotional intelligence. In other words, he wants you to pace your audience. He wants you to empathize, to understand who you're talking to, who your counterparty is, and meet them where they are, and then lead them. Good post. Good post. Mark, maybe we'll connect someday. I want to introduce you guys to someone who has plenty of emotional intelligence. Let's bring him up onto the stage here because it is Friends Friday. Let's go here. Add the stage. There he is. Ion.
Morning.
How you doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me. Good morning to everybody.
Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Ion, I think turn your other live stream off. You had IG on because I think we're getting a little bit of feedback on the sound here or something's going wrong. So if you love this this new beat I've got going on here, I don't know if that's the right word, Ion, but I asked Ion to see if he could create for me as a buddy some intro music to this stream, but then it's exploded past that. This has become the soundtrack for the brand, the Scott Sinclair brand.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. I was playing it for my 11-year-old this morning. She was digging it. So there you go. This is the creator of that. Ion, introduce yourself. You'll do a better job than I will. And don't be shy. Talk about your credits.
My name is Aon Clark. I'm a lifelong musician, singer, songwriter. I made music into a career by getting into songwriting. So that allowed me, and I managed to have a resume writing for artists like Rihanna, Diddy, Danity Kane, Drake, Bad Boy Records. And it allowed me to get into the States and do music on a professional level. So it's a really great thing. I also do corporate events. I'm a major player in the corporate event space, entertaining private events. I've been very blessed to work with companies like Roots Canada, Chapters Indigo, doing their private events. Actually, we met.
Sinclair Range.
And Sinclair Range as well. I actually worked with Sinclair Range as well, which was amazing. We met one evening at a restaurant, a very nice restaurant in Toronto. And some of my friends put me on the spot, asked me to sing, and I ended up singing. And that's how we met, when you heard me sing. And you hired me for that event. So I really appreciate that.
Let me be more specific. So the people at Opus Bistro in Toronto, which is still one of the best kitchens in the city,
yes,
in my opinion, often they log on to this live stream. So I like to give them a shout out. I don't see them yet this morning, but they will listen for sure. So they're in Yorkville in Toronto, which is, if you're outside of Toronto, we have an international audience, but it's like being in Midtown Manhattan. It is the fancy place. And yes, there's a restaurant there called Opus Bistro, which has been around like for decades, I think. And there's still, the best food, I believe, in the city. And sometimes on some nights it's pretty quiet. And so I was in there with my marketing person, and we were having dinner, and we were talking about the next Sinclair Range corporate event. And there was only one other table in the restaurant. And this guy, Ion, was at that table. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just stands up as Ashley and I my marketing person, are talking to each other about, what we should be doing for the event, what kind of entertainment we should have, how that's going to work. And this guy stands up and just starts belting out a song a cappella that was so beautiful. I couldn't believe it. That's get up, go talk to him.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, you just got to be always willing to exercise your gift at all times. And that's one of the things I've always been willing to do. And that's put me in a lot of great positions and a lot of great rooms. I also have a publishing deal with Warner Chappell in Santa Monica. So, songwriting and record making is one of my favorite things to do. So when you tapped me for that opportunity, man, I jumped at it and I really appreciate it. It's nice to get back into the production space as well.
Tell me about it. What was the process? How'd it go?
So the process was based on I wanted to go off of what you were looking for. And I know that you mentioned a little edgy rap, not too hardcore. And, it's about business. And I do watch the show. I'm a fan of your show.
Thank you.
I felt like I wanted to make something that suited your brand, the Scott Sinclair brand. So it's a little bit, the beat's a little bit regal with that smoky feel. I remember you showed me how to light up the right way. And, but it still has that smooth feel to it. Very cool, down to earth as well, as big as you are as a business person in this country and worldwide, really. And then it has that multi-dimensional feel to it as well, which you also bring to the table. So I felt like out of the 4 different ideas I had, this one was definitely the one, not the 2. So I felt very comfortable presenting this to you, and I'm really glad that you enjoy it. And I think it will ring out really well.
I love it. Thank you for that. What projects have you got going on? Anything that we should be excited about?
Yeah, I got a few projects going on. Actually, the same time that I was working on that project, I got a call from New York from some friends, some songwriters out there. This artist named Little Kim. She's a pretty legendary rap artist. So
yeah,
looking to do some writing. So I'm looking forward to getting out there to New York to running some of her studio sessions. She's dropping new singles. And then as you know, I'm a singer, so it's a blessing to be able to keep that art form alive of just being able to sing. It's a rare kind of gift right now. A lot of people are rapping and doing different things, but I'm a classic singer. I grew up in the church singing, and I use my chops. So actually every first Friday of the next few months, I'll be over at Hotel One in Toronto, which is the old Thompson Hotel. It's now called One Hotel.
Oh, really?
The franchise. Okay. So every Friday, first Friday of every month moving forward, I'll be there doing live music, acoustic, and just bringing that classic feel back to the city. We need more.
Oh, fun.
And it's going to be really great. So writing, producing, everything, making records. It's so much fun.
So you're going to be doing sort of the classics, jazzy sort of stuff at Hotel One. Is that the idea?
Yeah, a little bit of jazzy, a little bit of old, and some of the new stuff. Come hear some of your favorite songs from the weekend. Come hear some of your favorite country records. Come here. I'm very eclectic, and our city, Toronto's a very eclectic place. So that reflects in my playlist and how I curate an evening. So I bring out.
I have to tell you guys that Ion's become a good friend over the years, and yes, I trust his judgment on many things, particularly, well, on everything, but particularly musical judgment. Yes. And so we were hosting a private dinner for Sinclair Range. I think we were 13, 14 people at that restaurant, Opus Bistro. And I said, Ion, come to dinner, network with the crowd, like actually be a guest at the dinner. But I'd love you to just stand up once or twice and do some a cappella at the table and blow everybody away, which is exactly what he did. And what you did, Ion, is I didn't know what you were going to do. Yeah. And what you did was Moon River, which, what a choice.
Yes. Yeah. I got that song. I was taught that song, funny enough, by, I'm not trying to name drop, but Catherine Zeta-Jones. Catherine Zeta-Jones is a good friend of mine as well. I sang it. I got a chance to sing at her birthday party and a few events that she was at.
Her birthday party, you left my dinner to fly to her birthday party, if you remember.
Did I? No, that was years ago. I was flying up to Jamaica. That was a different event.
Yeah, I thought that was for her party in Jamaica. No?
Her party was a few years back.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I was talking about that. I believe I spoke about that. And we sang. It was one late night with Catherine Zeta-Jones sitting around the piano, and we were singing Moon River together. And that was the same night that I got a chance to share the stage with Ben E. King, Stand By Me. So
really,
my talent has brought me to great places. And as long as you keep an open heart and a positive energy, you never know where you can end up. So Scott, I really appreciate the friendship, and it's a real blessing.
Thanks for joining us, Ion. How do people find your stuff?
You can find me on Instagram right now. So Aon Clark, as it's spelled below, AION Clark Music. And
Clark with an E on the end, guys, if you're on the audio version of this.
Yes, Clark with an E. And you'll see my link tree on there as well with all of some more of my accomplishments and everything like that. Look out for some covers coming soon. I'm looking to take over that marketplace as well. You know, in the same way that Teddy Swims and a lot of these artists are blowing up organically. I'm looking to build something organic and independent as well. So it's going to be a journey. So join me on the journey as I just continue to sing for y'all and try to penetrate through the culture with music.
All right.
Really.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for listening. This is the end of the week, so we're taking a couple of days off, but we will see you next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern, live streaming on here. I should have put that music back on.
Beat play one more time.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I got to go find it.
Got that West Coast feel. I know you're a West Coast man.
All right, my friend. Thank everybody for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.